My name is Ayman. This is my first video on the channel, and what I'm gonna try to do over the next 100 or so videos is lend my voice to stories, poems, texts, anything that I find beauty in, really, from Arabic, French, and English, and try to transmit the messages in those texts with my own voice, trying to lend some more, try to give life to them in a sense. Today's story is from Rumi, otherwise known as Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi, Maulana Jalaluddin Muhammad Rumi, who was a 13th century Sufi mystic, poet, storyteller, just thinker, philosopher. You could call him by many names, really. He was a great man. And he was very influential, specifically within the context of Sufism. And today's story is about a poor man, a treasure map, and the relationship between striving and surrender. The story goes like this. And disclaimer, this is not the original text, just because Rumi was notorious for adding a lot of religious embellishment to his writings, and I wanted to transmit the story itself, the narrative itself, without any of the religious or spiritual subtext, because it's very complex if I had gone with the original text. This is my own distillation of the narrative. There once lived a man who had nothing, a faqir, a wanderer, worn thin by poverty and hunger. For years he cried out to God in prayer, his voice rising from the dust. "O Lord, you brought me into this world without effort on my part. Give me my daily bread without labor. You gave me senses, you gave me a heart, you gave me a mind, gifts that I cannot number. So if you alone have created me, then you alone can provide for me." And so, day after day, year after year, this prayer left his lips, and sometimes he despaired, sometimes he doubted, sometimes he got discouraged, as we all do. But in the silence that followed his supplications, he would always hear, faint as a whisper, clear as a bell, the call, "Come," beckoning him forward. And so he kept praying, until one night he fell into a vision. Not sleep, but something deeper, as if the veil between worlds had thinned. A voice spoke to him, luminous and certain. It said, "Go to the stationer's shop, the one who is your neighbor. Among the loose papers he sells, you will find a scroll. Take it without him seeing. Read it alone. Do not tell anyone." The man woke trembling, his heart hammering against his ribs. When the morning came, he went to the stationer's shop and moved through the piles of paper as though searching for nothing in particular. And then there it was, a scroll, just as the voice had described it. He slipped it under his arm, murmured a farewell to the shopkeeper, and disappeared into a quiet corner of the city. He unrolled it with shaking hands. The words on it were simple, clear, direct, yet impossible. It said, "Outside the town stands a domed building, a shrine to a martyr. Go there, turn your back to it, and face the Qibla, face Mecca. Take your bow, put an arrow to the string, and let it loose. Where the arrow falls, you will dig. The treasure is buried there." His breath stopped. A treasure. His prayers were answered. He found a bow, he went to the dome, he stood with his back to the shrine, faced the direction of the Kaaba, knocked an arrow, drew the string back with all his strength, and released. The arrow flew high and far, a dark streak against the sky. It fell in the distant sand. He ran to the spot where it fell, grabbed a shovel, and dug until his hands bled. Nothing. Nothing but sand and stone. The next day he returned. He shot again, pulled the bow even harder, sent the arrow even further. He dug where it landed. Nothing. Again and again and again, day after day, shooting with all the skill and all the strength he could muster, tearing up the earth with every arrow shot. And yet he found no treasure. Word began to spread through the city, whispers of this strange man shooting arrows into the desert, digging like a madman day and night. And then the rumors reached the palace. The king summoned the fakir. Trembling, the poor man stood before the throne and confessed everything. The vision, the scroll, the instructions, the failures. The king's eyes gleamed with greed. He took the scroll from the man's hands. "You are weak," the king said. "My archers are strong. We will find the treasure." For 6 months, the king's men shot arrows across the desert. The greatest archers in the land, strong bows, long draws, arrows that flew like birds of prey. They dug pits everywhere, north, south, east, and west. They tore up the land, and yet they found nothing either. At last, the king grew tired. He threw the scroll back at the fakir in disgust and said, "Take it. This is madness. Only a fool like you with nothing better to do would keep chasing shadows. If you find it, it's yours. I am done." The fakir took the scroll and walked back into the desert alone. He was broken now, but not from hope, but from despair. He fell into his knees once again and prayed to God like he always did. But not the old prayer of asking for something. This one was a prayer of surrender. He said, "O Lord, I have run in vain. Greed and haste drove me forward, and I sought neither patience nor stillness. I have failed. I don't know what I am doing. If you will not open this door, then close it entirely. But if there is a way, show me. I am nothing without you." And in the silence that followed, the same silence he had heard for years, the voice returned. And this is my favorite part of the story. The voice said, "I told you to put an arrow to the bow, but when did I tell you to draw it with all your strength?" The man's breath caught in his throat. "I did not tell you to pull hard. I did not tell you to shoot far. You did that from your own vanity, from your own need to prove your skill. The treasure was never distant, it was near, nearer than your own neck. Put the arrow to the bow. Do not strain. Let it loose." The man stood. He walked back to the domed shrine. He faced Mecca once more. This time he placed the arrow gently on the string. He barely pulled it back, just enough for the arrow to leave the bow. The arrow fell a few feet away in front of him. He knelt on the ground. He dug, and there, just beneath the surface, the treasure gleamed in the desert sun. A beautiful story. I find this story to be a very beautiful illustration of the concept of surrender. It's a concept, it's an idea that we've kind of lost in the modern day. Everywhere you look, everyone you listen to will tell you to work harder, to struggle more, to hustle more, to go way outside of your comfort zone, striving for your success or striving for whatever your heart yearns for, whether that's love or happiness or meaning or wealth or $1 million. We have this deeply rooted idea that success is always far, that It's never where we are. We always go out looking for it, chasing after it, running miles and miles and miles, metaphorically, to attain what we have always wanted. And yet, we never stop to question the idea that maybe the answer to all that we want is not to do more, but to do less. Seems very counterintuitive, I know. And when I read the story a few days ago, it stuck with me, and I've been pondering about it. How is it possible that if we do not have what we want in our current state, how is it possible to find it where we are? Isn't it obvious that we should go out looking for it, struggle for it, hustle for it, for years on end, lose sleep, sacrifice relationships, sacrifice health, do what it takes to get the things that we want? Less is more. Something we've heard before, something I've heard before, something I've never really comprehended until I actually lived it. Maybe you will relate to this, maybe you won't, but have you ever had moments where you are facing some kind of unsurmountable problem in your life? Something that you are stressed about, losing sleep about for days on end, just trying to figure out a solution, or not even trying to figure out a solution, just scared of what might happen, whether that's being stuck in a dysfunctional relationship, or being worried about a job interview that you desperately need yet are not confident that you might land, or worrying about where the hell you're gonna get money for a bill that you have to pay, or something, money that you borrowed and need to pay back. There's a lot of moments like this in our daily lives where we are just unable to find a solution, and it stresses us out so much. But sometimes it's in the moment where you've reached the most stress that you can handle, and where you just surrender and have faith that no matter what the outcome is, you're just gonna deal with it. It's in those moments I find that the solution appears out of nowhere. It kind of reveals itself, and often in ways that you could have never imagined were possible. I've lived this many times before, and I'm starting to learn that life almost magically has a way of always working itself out. We do get in our own way sometimes, just trying to fix things, and it's a bit of... Rumi mentions vanity in the story. He says when the poor man was trying to shoot the arrow as far as he could, that was mostly from vanity and from his own desire to prove himself. And I find that to be very true. We often overestimate our ability to influence the outcome of our lives, which could not be further from the truth. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you can't have control over your life, or you should not make efforts to chase what you want, but a lot of success can come from just letting go and having faith. Faith is truly a powerful thing, whether you're religious or not, whether you are spiritual or maybe more pragmatic or more scientific in your worldview. But faith doesn't have to be religious. Faith is more the belief that belief itself can influence the world. Your own belief that things will work out will often end up true in ways that you could never expect. But I don't want to ramble for too long. I think the story is very beautifully written and has a way of just explaining itself. I'll conclude with what Rumi said at the end. The one who learns to stop shooting far is the one who finally digs in the right place. Something to think about.